Righto, sound engineer, cue that theme song. On this third and possibly last edition of the Supercars Insiders DSO cast, what DSO? Oh, sorry. The rain takes a fall, James Moffat hits the wall, the Warbster makes the tough call, and the Erebus team does a NASCAR-style driver change, y'all! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DSO cast, the former official podcast of the unofficial ruler of Australian motor racing, the Warbster. I'm the podcast DSO, and this week, out from behind the engineering desk, is the podcast sound engineer Minion. Minion, he's gone. I can't believe it. He's leaving us to go and sell billboards.
That wouldn't make a very interesting podcast, unless the billboards were for men's galleries.
The men's gallery. I actually thought it could be for negotiation. The Warbster's big on lots and lots of negotiation. He could be negotiating a new supercars billboard as we speak. No, that'd be a bit silly. The podcast this week's a bit topsy-turvy. I've put out about a dozen phone calls. Has he rung you?
No.
Hasn't rung me. Okay, he's not... Everybody, the Warbster's disappeared. He's not here with us. We don't know where he is. We can't find him. I've rung him. He's not answering his phone. I've rung Warbster Manor. I've rung all the pubs, bars, restaurants, nightclubs.
Did you try Singapore?
No, he's not in Singapore. I've
Tonga?
checked. No, the Tonga deal's dead in the water. No. Oh, don't worry about Tonga. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get a little bit serious. The real Warbster, the CEO of Supercars, James Warburton, has announced this week that he's leaving Supercars at the end of the year, taking up a position as the CEO at APN Outdoor, who are Australia's largest outdoor advertising company, hence our joke about billboards. We'll go through a few things that we're a bit, as I said, we're a bit topsy-turvy, a bit out of sorts. I miss not having him here with us.
I need some leadership.
Oh, please. That's a bit low. Okay, let's go through some of the highs and lows. Let's talk about what the Warbster's done. So he's been the CEO for 4.5 years. We know he came from 10. I'll start with one of the highs. I honestly think the Foxtel TV deal was probably the greatest thing that he's done for the sport.
What, because of the money?
Well, it had to be because of the money. You're but a young occasional race official and sometimes sound engineer Minion. The teams were getting no money. The teams were buggered. They were just about broke. There was no return at the end of the year. So we love putting it on him, but I honestly believe that he'll go down in history as potentially the great saviour. So what do you think one of his lows was?
Oh, the free-to-air deal?
Well, the free-to-air deal goes hand in hand with the Foxtel deal. Look, in all honesty, $50 a month, and I'm going to say it, I read it on social media all the time, if you really want your sport, $50 a month for 3 full days of telecast, minimum 3 full days of telecast every time, showing everything, isn't bad value. As we've said, the other thing that he's done is he's managed to negotiate events, he's managed to stooge promoters and governments, and he himself, Supercars Events, are the main promoter of the series. State governments are paying for everything. So, Minion, I'm going to go through a list, and I want you to tell me whether you think... we'll go through a list of next year's calendar. Tell me who you think, which state governments are tipping money in.
Yeah, I've got this for sure, I reckon.
You reckon? Okay. All right, so me and the Warbster in episode 2 went through the calendar roughly, had a bit of a joke about it. Let's see what we really think about it. So, first weekend of March, Adelaide 500, sponsorless event. No naming rights sponsor.
Well, Adelaide must have to fit the bill.
Yeah. South Australian government. So 3 weeks later, Formula 1 Rolex Australian Grand Prix.
Oh, I reckon I've seen Daniel Andrews talk shit about that a couple of times.
Please, can you keep the profanities to a minimum? I'm going to have to beat them out later when I'm the new apprentice sound engineer. Yes, you are correct. The Tyre Power, and a big shout out to Pilvo at Nidri Tyre Power, supplying all of the podcast DSO's family tyre needs. The Tyre Power Map of Tasmania Super Sprint. Government money or not?
Nah, no way.
Yeah? Yes way. Got them stooge down there too. See, not much happens in Tassie. The government own the boats. Anybody wants to get to Tassie, you've got to get on the government's boat. Government bring everyone over. It's all good. Negotiation.
Negotiation?
Lots and lots of it, apparently.
Yeah.
The WD-40 squeaky wheel Phillip Island 500 where no spectators go.
Well,
Government sponsor or not?
well, as much as I'd love to say yes, no way.
Oh, you got that right. Well done. Well done. Yes, correct. The Wild Wild West, the Perth Super Sprint.
What? There's only shark attacks in Perth. Who sponsored something in Perth?
The shark attack hasn't happened in Perth. They happen down at Cotto or the surf beaches or where the sharks are. There's no sharks at Wanneroo, except maybe off Barbagallo. Don't keep it together. Don't go losing it like the Warbster does. So yes, the government tip a truckload in. Rural Victoria, northeast Victoria, our favourite round, the Whitten Super Sprint. Do the government put money into that?
Oh, only thanks to Ricky Muir.
Oh, good reference. Well done. Pulled that one out. Yes, they do. The Victorian government provides some tourism benefit to the Benalla Auto Club. Let's head north to the Crown Bet. Darwin. Hang on, can we say Crown Bet? Aren't we contractually obligated to say U Bet?
Yeah, it's U Bet, mate.
So why have we got a conflicting sponsor for our round? Oh, because we
Negotiation.
No. The Warbster doesn't own that round. It's promoted by someone other than Supercar Events.
Called Darwin.
This Northern Territory State Government. Good get. We'll flick through it. This is taking far too long. Townsville 400.
Yeah.
Sponsored by construction company Watpac, Queensland Government.
Yeah.
Yep, got it in mind. Staying in Queensland. Coates Hire, Ipswich Super Sprint. So, hang on. The government mightn't put any money up. They might just...
Yeah, they care about Townsville.
They
don't give a shit about in Ipswich.
Have you been to Ipswich? Have you been to the paperclip?
From what I've heard about
Have you been to the paperclip?
No.
Don't make comment unless you've been there. The Red Rooster Super Night 300 at Eastern Creek. I refuse to call it Sydney Motorsport Park. It's Eastern Creek. It's next to the tip. Government money?
Well, has to be now.
No.
Without...
No,
really?
no. The Ben Super Sprint, the Shaheen family. Well, we know that there's some government funding going into the facility as capital works, and I think that's a great idea. Government money to the race?
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to guess. Though.
Oh, well, we'll say yes, and if it isn't...
You can just edit it out.
No, you can be wrong.
Yeah, I'll edit it out.
No, you can be wrong. Back to Melbourne for the prestigious, long-running Sandown 500. Government money?
Why would they?
Well, it's going to close in 2 years, so absolutely not. The Super Cheap Auto, Super Bathurst 1000.
Is that a joke?
Okay. Yeah, New South Wales events. I tell you what, they're pretty generous in New South Wales.
You get a good return on that one, though.
Vodafone Gold Coast 600.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, they have been for 20-something years. The one I'm not sure about, but I'm fairly positive that there would be some Kiwi money, brew. The ITM Auckland Super Sprint, not sure, but we're pretty obvious on that one. And the Coates Hire Newcastle 500.
Well, where else would the Homebush money go?
Correct. So, did you notice during the week that Super 5000 have asked for government assistance to run as a support category at Queensland next year? So, do you know what that means?
Real supercars are going to support super taxis.
Oh, come on, don't be like that. So, Super Silhouette, say hi to Mike, everybody. Hi, Mike. I've just figured this out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you?
I don't think supercars are worthy of being sponsored by Virgin Airlines anymore.
Because they're not virgins?
Just work with me on this one.
Yep.
This much government handout, there's 15 events, plus they want a government handout to try and run the Super 5000 open wheelers. They're like single mothers.
Yeah,
they're taking more welfare. It should be the Centrelink Supercar Series next year because they got their hand out for more government money than I think I know what to do with.
Do you know you and I have been talking dribble for 10 minutes already?
10 minutes? We took an hour and a half of people's time in the last episode, but I think that means it's time for a
Tim.
Safety car. Thanks, Tim. Time for a safety car.
So we need to go safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags.
We all know the inconvenience of taking a taxi, bro. You wait a long time, the driver's really slow, and it's always when you're in a hurry, bro. But why take a taxi when you can take a super taxi? Travel with One Free Fabs. One Free Fabs will take you anywhere in our fleet of DJR Tim Penske supercars. We will cut your travel time, bro. We will put the jandle to the floor to deliver you a better travel experience, cuz? Anytime, anywhere, 1 free fabs will get you there faster, bro.
Are you looking for race car spares? Come down to the corner of Dandenong Road. We have supercars, formula cars, imports and road cars in pieces and waiting for you. Just come in before the residents kick us out at 6 p.m. Need a wrecked race car? Go straight on to Dandenong Road.
Welcome back to the DSO podcast, where me, the podcast DSO, is filling in for the Warbster, who is in absentia. Big thanks to our sponsors, 13 Fabs, the Kiwi taxi company, bro, who will be very busy this coming weekend driving taxis all around Auckland, bro. What are you laughing at, Minion? What are you laughing?
Do you think your Auckland accent is good, bro?
Engineer Minion, it's the Warbster.
The triumphant one.
Oh no, he's calling. Hang on. Let me get this.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
Warbster, is that you? Warbster.
Minion,
Yes,
my government dish. Chick. Oh, jeez. This place is making my English shop.
What's wrong? Where are you, Warbster? You sound like Jim Richards.
That's because I'm in New Zealand, bro.
What are you doing in New Zealand, bro? What are you doing? Warbster, what's happened? Where have you been? I've been trying to find you for a week.
Yeah, well, I've been talking to Tony Quinn.
Oh, what do you mean talking to Tony Quinn? Cams have screwed you. Cams have said no. They're not gonna give you the category management agreement.
That's what Cam said, was it? Oh, that's adorable.
Oh, hang on. I've just worked it out. Australian GT Racing Proprietary Limited hold the category management rights. If you buy it off Tony, Cams have to let you promote it.
Oh, it took you that long to figure it out.
Oh, sorry, Warbster. It's been a hectic week back here at trying to hold the fort at Supercars headquarters in Warbster Manor.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? I've only got a couple of months left to complete my takeover. Things up a bit.
Okay. So the Minion's been helping me out. He was wondering what you thought of his editing work on the podcast last episode.
Oh, well, he was running.
Sorry?
All the running. Fine cotton, really?
I don't think he was happy with you.
He's not.
Sorry, Warbster, I'm trying to have two conversations at once here. So, you're going to need to lift your game.
Lift my game?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's going to do your editing for you if I leave?
Me. I'm the new apprentice sound engineer. Warbster, do I get 2 paychecks if he leaves?
Well, you get 2 paychecks, but they're going to be half.
Can we negotiate?
Oh, you know how much I lost in negotiations on a Friday night?
I've had it with you. No, you know what? I'm out. No,
What?
I've had enough of this.
Hey, Warbster, he's storming out. He said,
I've had enough of this.
You're going to slam the door too, aren't you? I can just see this.
Oh, you'll be back. Matt White came back.
Yeah, and so did Kurt, remember? Wasn't that the deal of the century?
Yeah, they all come back eventually.
Alrighty. Warbster, are you there? The phone's cut off. I just hope he rings me back. I'll try him. Come on, Warbster, answer.
Oh, this reception is shut. Oh, I've got to stop doing that.
Yeah,
Hey,
you've got to.
how are you?
I'm good. You've got to stop doing that. I know the reception's shut.
Yeah, well, that's because it's Vodafone. Oh, no, wait, we're supposed to say nice things about Vodafone. We're contractually obligated to do so.
At least they give you a free
okay.
phone.
All right.
Okay. So
have we done the Gold Coast wrap yet?
no, we're up to the Gold Coast wrap. Is that really bad?
Wicker chow.
Yeah, is that really bad?
Alrighty, well, we should probably start with the winners. The Super Vodafone, Super Balcony, Super Weekend with the Boys, Super 600 Super winners, Chaz and Owen.
Yep.
And then Jandal and Frenchie on the Sunday.
Was that Owen Kelly?
No, Steve Owen.
Oh, right. Sorry, I think I got that wrong. I might have read that. I might have read that somewhere.
Kelly winning is a bit foreign these days, isn't it?
Yeah, Kelly. Please, let's not jump the gun again.
Okay, all right. We'll say something nice about the Kellys.
Righto, so Warbster, the Gold Coast, Friday, fine, warm, sunny, lots of support categories crashed. Saturday, Queensland, beautiful one day, pissing with rain the next.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Melbourne, for goodness sake.
So Saturday, wet, pretty nasty, and we headed into qualifying, and just like they do, they go out, they do some banker laps, they come back in, they fox, they think they got a quick one, but it was wet.
And Scotty Mack didn't get pole, which I thought was an absolute lock, and this is why you don't listen to the expert.
See, what was interesting was that it wasn't just Dutto throwing the headset, it was Frenchie throwing the headset as well. I think Ludo was very upset that Scotty Mack didn't jag another pole.
Well, yeah, I mean, that Gallic sort of charm doesn't always exist. Sometimes they do get angry.
No, really good.
Yeah, he really wanted to push young Jandal off the edge of a cliff at that point, I think.
Most definitely. So, gee, I like Chaz. I've got so much time for Chaz. Chaz is to quote a great race director, he's such a fine young man. If only
he really is.
If only
here's the thing.
If only you could
he
string.
doesn't really do the media stuff. He doesn't. He exists purely to drive. And next year, when he's out of contract, you can guarantee anyone with any serious amount of money and serious ambitions for winning is just going to throw money at him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was going to say he struggles to string three words together in front of the microphone, and I know that's not the case away from the microphone. But I think he's a bit shy in front of the cameras. I think he needs a mentor. I don't think FPR have got one for him, so he's good.
No, I don't think he needs a mentor in terms of he might need some polishing or something. But I could see, well, let's throw it out there. Let's say Captain Roger decides to go to a third car. You think Penske couldn't do a number on him as far as the presentation is concerned?
I reckon the first thing Roger would do is sit him down and get him a decent haircut. Tell him to turn his hat around and wear it like a proper race car driver. You know, like them good old boys from NASCAR. And learn to talk with a drawl, son. You ain't gonna go nowhere without a drawl.
Y'all.
Thank you.
No, that's Davey Reynolds, but we'll get into that in a minute.
We'll get into that shortly. Some nice stuff sticking the young fella on the pole.
David Texan.
And over we went into, now we can't use wet and wild as a cliche, okay? It's been a year. We can't use wet and wild.
I'm pretty sure Scapey probably ran that one into the ground.
Operating on a higher level there.
Yes, and is he actually going to be a television star soon?
Scapey's going to be a television star?
Yeah.
Have I missed?
CJT's just going to take off, mate.
Actually, I've heard about CJT. Listeners out there in podcast land, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Channel 10 are commissioning a new series over the summer and Foxtel also, when there's nothing to show other than repeats of things that have happened during the year. They're launching a new show along the lines of SVU and CSI. It's called CJT, Commentary Box Judicial Team. Warbster, do you want to run a bit of a synopsis over it?
CJT is a procedural. It has the commentary box guys going about their business, solving the crimes that happen in pit lane, and we know who they are.
What about on track when people run into each other?
Yeah, exactly. It's a serious crime and it needs serious time. So that's what CJT is all about.
Absolutely, making the decisions for Tim and Michael before they've even made their own mind up.
Pretty much, yeah. Anyway, back to the Saturday race.
Frenchie
spun at the worst time possible and put a hole in Jandal's title hopes.
Yep.
I said something about John French last time around. Mm-hmm. Considering how he did in the 72 Bathurst 1000, maybe we should have stuck John French in the car.
He's 87 years old, I told you, Warbster. He's older than Murray Carter, and Murray Carter's retired. Let's not go there.
But, I mean, he's going to be careful in the wet at that age.
Like they all were at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago. Your boy, Andre 3000.
Oh, A3K. He absolutely just took that 14 and just stuck it up the front. Unbelievable. We talk about the gold rush of young guys last time. What is in the water in New Zealand? They just keep producing unbelievable drivers.
Absolutely. What I didn't necessarily like too much about their comments. Funny that commentary team make comments about Andre 3000, saying that he has had the advantage of being out in the Porsche race earlier. Right. So driving a rear-engine Porsche sports car in the wet is just exactly the same as driving of a supercar around the track in the wet. Please. How about you actually pay some credit to his ability rather than just use some well-worn cliche that, but he's already had track time in the wet.
By that logic, shouldn't all the Formula 1 drivers be out in the GC2 race, Formula 2 race, before the Grand Prix every time?
Well, and why wouldn't the MotoGP riders go and get a bit of track time on Moto 2?
Yeah, okay. So we're calling BS on that one.
I'm calling absolute BS on that.
Yeah. Speaking of adding things, though, we've got a wet race,
Yep.
and it's for co-drivers as well.
Yep.
So who do you think stuck it up the front, mate?
Stand away.
Richie!
Yeah,
Greg
man.
Murphy's boy.
Yeah, man. Yep. He driving in the next year. Be driving in the. Oh well, no, he may not. We probably need to touch on that a little bit later in the news. But the Stanaway news might be a little bit different than we've previously reported, given some goings on. But
I think circumstances have changed. But I think we can guarantee one thing: he'll be out there in something.
He will, and when he starts the engine of the car he's driving next year, don't be surprised if you hear the sound of crickets as he puts the accelerator down. Righto.
Anyway, Stanaway was helped by yet another round of Triple Eight versus PRA, the traditional rivals, and that's been going on for a good 4 or 5 years now, when Steve Owen, minding his own business, trying to get into Turn 1, and our old mate Dum Dum had a bit of a brain melt and lost the car trying to overtake him.
He centre punched him down the road almost as far as Davidson did that tyre bundle.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's go to the CJT for some reference here. So you ruin someone's race, you run into them, over-enthusiastic move, completely out of control in the wet, poor driving by anybody's standards. What sort of penalty would you give, Warbster?
I think probably a drive-through.
I would most definitely give a drive-through if I was a real DSO, but of course no, because it's 888, they just get a 15-second added onto their existing stop. So, realistically...
I'm not real happy with that. I think that it's not so much that I think that we can't accuse them of a 888 bias, but it's just, where's the consistency?
Yeah,
I'm not going to lay in on them like everybody else does, because God knows you go on a social media or a lot of other podcasts like this, and they just harangue the officials just as a matter of course. But you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, and look, at the moment, I'm not saying there's no consistency. What I'm saying is that there appears to be no consistency, and that's a big difference.
Yeah,
there's a big difference in that, and we certainly.
And when you start getting the CJT coming in, weighing in every 5 seconds with their expert opinion, quote unquote, that just compounds the problem. And it's not necessarily that they've got biases, but if you give the fans an opportunity to do so, and they start going, it's rigged, then you've got big problems.
So, Warbster, I'm not sure, because you've been away, I'm not sure if you've noticed that my mates at CAMS this week have opened up expressions of interest from suitably qualified race officials to take on CAMS appointments. So there's race directorships available for pretty much every category except supercars, because Tim's a lock. But they've opened up series stewards and series tech commissioners. I reckon the best way to boost the telecast next year, let's get rid of Larko. Let's get Larko to be the new tech commissioner for supercars, and let's get the CJT out of the commentary box. They can be the new appointed series stewards. We'll import some new maybe we'll import the stewards. They might be able to do a better, more interesting commentary job, and that way we get rid of those flogs out of the commentary box, and they can go and make their CJT decisions for real.
How about, or we could just do both and cut costs. Like, just have them do both.
Well, I was going to say, given that your replacement's apparently only going to be on 75% of what you were earning, there's a cost cutting to start with.
Well, yes, but I mean, 75% of perfection is pretty good.
Yes, 75% of negotiation rates. So in another bonehead,
you know how much I love my negotiation.
Oh, we know exactly how much you love it. So bonehead moves. Someone spun Garth Tander. Who would that have been?
we're trying really hard not to weigh into them too much because we've done it 2 episodes in a row. But Todd Kelly, put your hand up, please.
Todd Kelly, please put your hand up. Yeah, look, and we're not in the business of flogging the Kellys. We're not in the business of bashing anybody. We call it as we see it. The sad part about it is when you've got 4 cars, you're going to feature. And when your drivers do dumb things, you're going to feature. Yeah, I think you might have a little bit more to say about the Kellys later.
Do indeed. The Tinian and X-Ray had the race under control until the Jap failed in pit lane.
So,
because it was stuck in the hole in the tarmac that no one could see because of the rain.
Okay, so...
Yeah, and I mean, I'm willing to bet that this probably didn't happen because I know that BJR are one of the most professional teams in pit lane, but...
No, absolutely.
But that was just absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, I saw that actually happening and I just went, oh, no frigging way. How the hell... Like, seriously, of all the things in the world, that happened. It was just disgusting.
Yep, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Ricky Bobby Reynolds and the ageless veteran did a NASCAR-style driver change through the window after the door failed. Now, after this whole Ricky Bobby thing that Davey did at Bathurst, is he sort of taking this NASCAR thing a bit too far?
Oh, look, I think if anyone in the current field's a good old boy, Davey's a good old boy. Warbster, you might have to go and lean on another sheep. Your Vodafone signal's breaking up slightly. No, that's better. That's much better. Whatever you did to that sheep, don't do it again.
Okay, I want the bad bloke.
Please.
Barnaby.
I really did like Nick Percat showing a bit of ticker in the pits afterwards. Fabs turned him around in the race and did the right thing, and went to do a fake apology, and Percat fakely refused the fake apology. So I'm not sure who was the faker of the two.
I actually think Fabs was genuine. I just think that Percat was a little bit offended when young Fabian decided to call him James.
The excuse about wanting to celebrate the Chinmobile's exploits with the rest of the team. I suppose, not being upside down, on fire, or in the back of the truck in pieces at the end of a race is a bit of a milestone for BJR this year.
Yeah, actually, I mean, as much as I think it's a little bit of a, I've got to come up with something, I do actually think it's genuine just because, any success that they get is so much deserved this year because, my God, I know we go on about it every podcast, but my goodness, how much crap have they been through this year?
Yep. And it's not like they've got some complete spuds driving their cars who are totaling them. Their own at-fault accident count's going to be no higher than the majority of the other teams in the field. Yeah,
I mean, how could they do worse? Get past Maldonado to drive for them?
No, please, don't. We'll bring that up later in news with internationals wanting supercar co-drives next year.
Anyway, to finish off, the race chase came through the wet to win comfortably and tighten up the race for the championship just that little bit more.
Absolutely. Sunday emerged dry, and apparently the Saturday night concert was just pretty average. Obviously, the teams don't like the bit where Hilltop Hoods sing "It's Your Round," especially the ones that hadn't won.
Plus, I think probably was the sound engineer in the middle just going, "Boo, we're young people."
No, I think the sound engineer was tucked up nicely in bed.
Anyway, moving on from concerts which have absolutely nothing to do with racing, supercar event.
Motortainment, Warbster, it's your baby. It will be your legacy.
No, that was Cochrane.
No, I'm going to take you to task on this. Cochrane was responsible for mincing musicals. You're the one that's brought rock and racing to supercars.
Alright, Minion. I'm going to let this one go. Qualifying, top 10, 888, 1, 2, 3, SVG, Win Cup, and then Lowndes. We as good as written them off at the end of episode 2 during our Gold Coast preview, and in the dry, did they prove us wrong?
Yes, quite clearly. Duddo had been over and had the headset repaired so he could hear them all properly and communicate, and the drivers absolutely pulled it out of the bag. They look comfortable again, I think is the nicest way to put it. Yeah, number 14, the Chinmobile, after their success of Saturday, clipped the tyres, clipped the wall, tore a power steering line off, and proceeded to set fire to the car. So, that's probably one of the only things that hasn't gone wrong this year for BJR. They've crashed them, they've turned them upside down, they've been hit from front, back, left, right, but hadn't set one on fire yet.
Yeah, probably a good thing they didn't get the fire-starter Carl Reinsler in as the co-driver this year, because that would have made it 1,000 times worse.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, and it would have been worse if the Prodigy had played the concert the night before.
Oh, I think, hey, easy.
Number 3, car 3.
Tripped over Bieber at the start of the race, the Sunday race, and basically screwed both their races.
Yep.
Which you would have been pissed off there, though, about, because you actually picked 33 as your roughie.
I certainly did pick 33 as my roughie. That's
And how did car 5 go, by the way?
Car
With that
5?
money you put on them?
Yeah, I think car 5's still out there circulating amongst the forklifts and construction personnel.
What, I didn't know Charlie was still there as well?
Charlie is omnipresent. You know that. He's almost as omnipresent as you.
Yeah, that's fine. And then BJR, yet again, 14 was rear-ended nicely on the concrete wall after being spun by Caruso.
So Caruso blotted his copybook there, which is a bit unusual. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was car 14, the BJR car that had been on fire, that got fixed and got put back out, only to be rear-ended and put into the fence. It's been one of those years. It's been an annus horribilis for the Jones family.
All right, well, we'll stop talking about BJR. Yilden, the Angels veteran, lost it at the Turn 10 complex and banged it into the wall, bashing both ends and turning the toes a lot wonky. Weekend over.
He did a fair number on the Betty Mobile, so dare I say it, chocolates to boiled lollies for both the Betty Mobile cars, for Crazy Dave and the Ageless veteran, but also our mate Dale Wood, who we'll talk about in the news, didn't have a very good weekend at the Gold Coast either. He inflicted a bit of damage to the vehicle both days, he and his co-driver. So, tough back to struggle street for Erebus at the Gold Coast.
I think, though, that as we said before, it's really a lottery in terms of getting through the weekend unscathed, and let's be honest, Surfers is a demo derby. I mean, we said it during the preview. We'll say it again. We'll probably say it again next year. It's just a total lottery in terms of whether or not you come out without a whole lot of damage.
Yep.
Most of the minions probably switched to the MotoGP at this point, because on a Phillip Island concurrently.
Yep.
But we won't talk about that because it's not supercars related, and I'm not contractually obligated to do so. Muscat trips over David Russell and gets Alex Davidson on the way through in the World Championship battle for 22nd place, according to Davo.
How can we not mention, given that you're in New Zealand, how can I not mention the emerging bromance between my boy Richie Stonaway and your good mate Greg Murphy?
Yes, they are very excited about Richie Stonaway over here, and obviously Greg Murphy's Brock-esque in his appearances over here. So, I suppose, it's nice to see that someone else has a boy in the commentary team. I mean, you've got, obviously, Wingcup and Scapey is world famous.
Yep.
Probably Larko and Winterbottom's Larko does keep a lid on it most of the time, but Larko and Winterbottom were obviously very close as well.
I think, actually, Warbster...
Greg Murphy's got his boy now. It's lovely, it's nice.
Warbster, I've worked out why Larko and Winterbottom are so close.
Because Frosty used to drive for Larko.
No, they're joined at the Orcon.
Anyway, Sunday, the shuttle teams detailed their way up through the field. They finally found a setup, and yes, Sunday qualifying was about as good as Saturday qualifying for DJRTT.
Yep.
But they found something, and good lordy, when they found it, they found it.
Yeah. What I really loved was that they played the CJT's undercut card on the team that are the kings of the undercut.
They did indeed, and despite Stanaway was out of the picture at that point because he dived on Richo, had a bit of contact, and damaged the steering.
Yep.
But they played the undercut. The Triple Eight points blocking team of Lambs and SPG tried to keep him in fourth just to maximise Jamie's chances of catching up.
Yep.
And the win cup stopped. McLaughlin was on the charge. He leaped all 4 places in the process and took the lead.
Yep. Yeah, fuel economy and some clever strategy. So again, we've been saying it all year, and Triple Eight have been coming out saying, "Oh, Ludo took everything with him. Ludo took everything with him." No, Ludo took the intellectual property and the wherewithal, and it was shown on Sunday at the Gold Coast.
Absolutely. So Jandal eked out a lead and held them to just about 2 seconds.
Yep.
Knowing how tight they are now on fuel, he was probably just trying to maintain the gap and not burn the fuel that he did have.
Yep.
Because the margins were practically non-existent. The one thing that we enjoyed, obviously because of our Ludo impersonation, is the fact that Premat said push on air, which was a good thing. Tandy got in the way for a bit, but held them all up equally. I thought that was very good of him.
That was given his
decided to stay in the way of everyone exactly the same amount.
Yeah, given his performance at the same race last year, I think it was an admirable move to be in front of everybody, not turning them around.
That's true. Speaking of which, there were actually no safety cars this year. Courtney couldn't get out of the car after the race because of all the panel damage that he got getting shoved in the side by other people.
Did he dance his way out NASCAR style?
No, he actually got out the window on the passenger side.
Right.
Took a bit of nifty footwork, though, I would have thought. Meanwhile, the victorious Jandermobile did a burnout and then ran out of fuel a bit short of the pit, which immediately my history minded brain went back to 1973 and dug shivers.
Pushing the XU1 Tirana.
Yeah, the funny part is, I don't know if it was Crompo or Scafie, but one of them went the exact same place at the exact same time. So that just proves how much of a nerd I am, really, doesn't it?
Well, when you've got Crompo and Scafie mimicking your thoughts on things, you need to be really worried, Warbster.
That's the first slope, isn't it? Anyway, so none of the Brock family were actually there to push Jandal out of the way, but that was just a bit of a historical echo there.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. Whoa. Hold it right there, Warbster. I think Prema had a premonition. Push.
You're going to get that in. The first second Zero Cup winners were Chaz and Owen. That's been counted from Sandown, Bathurst, and Surfers.
Yep.
They were consistent in all 3 races and well-worthy winners.
Yes, they were well-worthy winners. I'm not sure. Please unhand that sheep again, Warbster. You're starting to lose signal again.
Hang on.
Oh, much better. Perhaps if you stop. I mean, I know it is 1:15 in the afternoon. Perhaps if you put that glass of Pimm's and lemonade down and talk into your phone.
Okay, fine. I'll put down the tui. Things I do.
You feel like a tuies?
Yeah.
I think that was lost in translation.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, dude. Thank you. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh no, hang on. Sorry. Pertec Enduro Cup winners. Yeah. So Chaz and Owen.
Yep.
Podium.
Marquez, Rossi, and Vignola.
No. That was Phillip Island.
Oh, no. Hang on. Okay. Well, Jandal and Frenchie, Win Cup, and Dum Dum, and Van Gisbergen at Matt Campbell.
Yes.
Decided to actually go around all of the corners this time and not go down the escape road.
Matt Campbell's in Mexico as we speak. There's a little timeline, ladies and gentlemen. Doing very, very well in his Porsche, not Super Cup car.
Well, yeah, probably in Porsche is probably a bit of a gun. And hey, he's got time. He can come back and do the supercar thing. I think he learned a lot this weekend. I don't think that, Triple Eight are hard taskmasters, so I think Roland may or may not have him back, but he'll get another opportunity one day. He's an excellent driver.
Absolutely.
So anyway, as you tried to jump to before, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good performances, CFO?
A3K and the Slade Dog for Saturday. Good performance. And I know you can't bring yourself to say it, so I will. Forklift Racing, good performance on the Sunday.
Yeah, they actually did a really, really good job out of nowhere. I think they finished like 6th or 7th, and they were right in the hunt to sort of get it a little bit further up as well. Obviously, it's not a race of attrition anymore because we're not having accidents everywhere, but they just did it on genuine pace and just genuine ability, which was surprising. I mean, Charlie's not exactly the most popular person in the universe, especially in the supercar insiders or supercars first. But hey, let's give credit where it's due. They actually pulled it out and did a really good job this weekend.
Yep. Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. Let me just
Well, DJRTP for that call, and Promath for putting Jandal in the position that he could do what he did on Sunday. They were absolutely lost on Saturday, it's fair to say, but they really just absolutely pulled that one out as well.
Yeah, can't disagree with you on that one either. Let's talk about the meh or the so-so performances for the weekend. Are we just going to have Nissan here in perpetuity?
Pretty much. Again, I don't want to be laying on the Kelly brothers, to a lesser extent Caruso, but well, you're running midfield, you're a factory team. I'm not saying any more than that.
Yep.
Drivers tripping over each other, there was a few of these. I know it's a little bit hard because a lot of them are 3-time-a-year drivers, and it's a competitive environment. Surfers is probably one of the more unforgiving tracks on the calendar, but by the same token, there was this thing in the old days called racing room.
Yeah, that'd be a novelty, wouldn't it?
Yeah, in open wheelers, you do tend to get a bit more of a penalty because if you lock into another car, you're going to get launched. But, it's a bit and barge, a little bit of it's okay, but when you're just bashing into cars indiscriminately, it's a bit much.
Yeah, I think it was described at the start of the year as the bump and run, and I'm positive that it was going to be cracked down on.
Now, who's going to crack down on it?
The race director and IPO, investigating and prosecuting officer, who's
sale.
who's a step above the DSO, I must add.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting a sale on that just because with the lack of thieving, application in terms of one person will do it and they get killed, the next person will do it and they get a slap on the wrist. I don't see that that's going to be terribly successful just because you get one example of it not being done and then it's got back onto young and old.
Well,
moral escapism.
I think the word that you're searching for there, and you probably I think the word that you need to round that out, Warbster, is inconsistency. And if we want to talk about inconsistency, you centre punch somebody down the road and you get 15 seconds added onto your next pit stop. When one of your opposition happens to be in the pits and either lets a wheel spin a little bit, which is a big favourite of the CJT, lets a wheel spin when you're up on the jacks, or there's an unsafe release and you bump into your teammate with PRA, you get a full pit lane penalty. Now, last year at Winton...
2 years ago.
Sorry, to my apologies, 2 years ago at Winton, 888 bumped into each other exiting the pits. Apparently because they were teammates, they weren't penalised. Fast forward...
I'm actually going to give the race officials an out on this one because it was Charles and Frosty. I don't know what it was. But anyway, if it was Charles and Frosty or Bright and Frosty, because they run off a different pit boom,
it was Chaz.
They're also technically a different team because two of the cars at PRA are registered to Pro Drive Racing Australia. Chaz's car is registered to Rod Nash Racing, and Bright's car is registered to Brightjack. So technically, even though they all operate under the same roof, they are three separate teams in that respect.
I still can't understand, teammates or not, I still cannot understand how you get a full drive-through penalty for bumping into somebody at 40 k's an hour in a pit lane, in a controlled environment of a pit lane. But as I said, and I'll keep saying it, you centre punch somebody down the road, you get 15 seconds. That is not consistent. Social media went bananas as usual, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be sorted out next year. The consistency is simply not there. That the penalties don't fit the crimes.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Anyway,
so
moving on before we get accused of being nasty about the series too much. Drive of the weekend.
Yep.
I'm going to give it to, and I'm going to get a heap of mail for this, Jamie Wincott.
You know what? You're probably right. I don't hate him. I just don't like him. I don't like him because he hasn't got a personality, and I don't like him because of the way he carries himself. But I don't hate him, and I respect him for his success. He did do well, and now I'm going to get smashed on social media myself.
I mean, Wincott was the most consistent over the weekend. You can't blame him for Dum-Dum's little faux pas at turn one with Steve Owen.
Yep.
He finally got the setup right. I'm just going to say it this way. As you probably, I think I'm going to put a little bit more succinctly than you did. Don't hate, appreciate.
Yep, yeah, nice.
He is one of the best ever.
Nice.
Can't take that away from him. He's one of the most successful. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame almost first time of asking. He just did the job this weekend, and if he wins the championship, this weekend is one of the key points.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think and my man for under the radar for most consistent or best weekend was Mike's nephew, Gary. Again, if someone in the commentary box doesn't adopt him, I mean, they've all got a favourite. Someone up there needs to adopt him, and they need to get him into a ride.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, he's not quite as impactful as Danaway in terms of what he's done, but by the same token, you look at some of the drivers in the field and look at what Gary Jacobson's doing, and hey, he's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
Absolutely got to go somewhere.
Yep, absolutely, and good, like confident on camera. Happy to do the interviews. Probably even more comfortable on camera than one of the teammates in the same garage that we mentioned earlier. So, I think that's almost a roundup for the Gold Coast. Do you want to touch on the series leaderboard, Warbster?
Tighter than a
Fishers?
chook's rear end after laying an egg. This one, I think that's separated by, what is it, 17, 25?
Yeah, so we've got Jamie on top, Fab's 17 behind, and then Scotty 10 behind Fabs. So you got 27 points. Chaz is fourth, 126 back from Jamie, and Gizzy 189. So
you have to say that Gizzy's probably going to end up pulling for Jamie. I think that's the only way that one's going to work, and I can imagine that Roland will probably be pretty keen to put all his eggs in one basket, to stretch the chicken analogy again. DJR's in a bit of a bind because both of them are pretty close to even in terms of everything. And at this point, where do you make a decision? And if you do make a decision, which way do you fall?
So there's a couple of challenges in that, because knowing what the captain's like, the team's championship's fairly important to the captain as much as an individual win. So realistically, they've let them run their own race all year as long as they don't take each other out. They can't change that. There's no way that they can change that. The problem we're going to have, they may well run into each other or trip over each other.
Well, I think that is highly likely, considering Fabs is actually a father now. He gave birth to his partner gave birth to twins.
Yep.
So in his sleep-deprived state,
yep,
he may well end up having a bit of an issue there.
Yeah, and yes, having a couple of new babies in the house is going to is certainly going to play on him for the next few weeks. Just life just turns upside down. It's interesting. I'm over with your mates at UBet, Warbster. Jamie and Scotty are both $2.40 for the championship. Fabian's $3.40 for the championship. So Chaz is. This is the interesting one. Chaz is 126 points adrift of Jamie. I can get $41 for Chaz. I can get $126 for the Giz. So remembering, as we've found at Bathurst and all through the year, one DNF is enough. If Jamie and Fabian are racing for position next Saturday and they take each other out and spin and the majority of the field passes them, they're not going to get any points. So all of a sudden, Scotty, Chaz and the Giz jump up. I still think the Giz, mathematically it looks difficult, but I still think he's a chance. But realistically, it's a race of three. And two of them are owned by the captain.
I think if Shelby Power Racing get Pukekohe right, they're going to probably take a hell of a lot of points back. AAA, they're going to be working for Jamie. There's no question of that now. I think Giz has probably said before Surfers, well, basically I'm calling for Jamie now. And I think if he's saying that publicly, he's probably comfortable with it, and he's probably on board with the team on that one, which is a refreshing attitude from drivers these days. I think that Shell V-Power Racing, Roger Penske's not going to tolerate any crap from the drivers. If he says to a driver, do this, if he says, don't take your teammate off, even if the championship's on the line, they're damn well going to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Penske drivers who don't do that don't last very long.
No.
Because there's been documented, I think it's happened a couple of times in the States, where teammates have had each other off or had something happen, and Roger said, I'm paying out your contract, get out. But my admiration for the captain's fairly well known. Hang on, is that 10?
So we need to go safety car
Yeah,
boards
you
and
can
flags,
hear
safety
Tim,
car
we've,
boards
you
and
and I
flags. Go safety car boards
I've
and
waffled
flags.
on long enough. It's time for somebody to pay for this.
2017. The big event television is on 10, and it's about to get funkier and hotter than Tim Slade after a Bathurst stint.
He may have given Jamie Whincup a little bump then.
Not be just a dick problem though, sometimes you can get some clutch crap.
Forget CSI, NCIS or SVU. Oh yeah, this is the commentary judicial team. CJT. Yes, Greg Rust, Mark Skate, Neil Crompton, Greg Murphy, Larko and Will Davo's missus ask the hard questions and solve the crimes race control already knew about.
Now that's what I call a burger.
On a scale of 1 to elite athlete, I'm about a -5, but that doesn't matter today.
Side, he goes, he's into the side of him. They run into each other. He's blocked out break, he's going to redress.
But look at this,
Oh, no, they're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off.
You want to see what Tim should have done?
A little overlap. There is a little overlap there.
Well, what will happen here is that they'll both blame each other.
This is why I couldn't work out who was jinking and who was...
Yeah, it was hard to work out here because it's a relative thing, isn't it? There's an investigation that's going to take place.
The redressings caused that.
Or that probably does need to be thought about in race control. Now, whether or not that's a universally shared view remains to be seen.
Watch CJT, only on 10, even if they're broke.
The top spot, we'll find out the answer to that in a moment when the big guns come out to conclude this shootout.
Well, Warbster, commentary justice team coming soon to 10 and Fox. It looks like it'll be groundbreaking.
It'll be breaking something. Possibly lack of ratings records, but we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, to the news.
To the news. Hang on, the sound engineer's not here. I'm going to have to cue up the news music myself.
Okay, that's it. 75% pay. And the big news between the Gold Coast and Pukekohe round is Dale Wood has decided to hang up his hat from driving full-time.
Yeah.
Definitely a good chance for the Enduros next year, but he will not be back in a full-time role at Erebus or anywhere else.
Interesting one, that Warbster. And there was some hints earlier in the week, and I believe that the news is broken now. Erebus have announced it. I haven't been on social media to see what his wife's had to say. He's putting focus on the young family, and thinks that all these rounds away is taking it out of him and taking it away from being with his kids. And look, we touched on this in the previous podcast about climbing the mountain. He climbed the mountain. He did as best as I think he was ever going to do, and walk away on a high, Dale, with your head held high and proud.
Absolutely, and the 99 seat is very well sought after. Jack LeBrock's been linked to that seat, but then again, he's been linked to every seat going.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you?
But the inside track appears to be Anton De Pasquale.
Yeah, they've come out this week saying that Anton De Pasquale. So again, I wonder whether there's some link between the dude and Erebus. Don't know, not sure. I am aware of Paul the dude's dad, Terry, the man with all the money. Terry Morris and his Syrah wines are a personal sponsor of De Pasquale's, and I'm aware that money will be carrying on next year.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that Chris Pither with his icebreak money would have actually had the inside line, considering he's been driving this year for Elders. But Dick Pasquale is not exactly a bad shout either.
Yeah, Chris Pith is an interesting one. He's had that icebreak as personal sponsorship for close on a decade, back when he was with Williams Race Tech, when he was Utes champion. So look, and Chris is another fine, fast Kiwi. But yes, changes at Erebus in the 99 car, which leads me to tell you that the news this week that LDM are cutting back to 1 REC. So that would mean that potentially they're going to sell one of their RECs and they're going to team up with Phil Munday Panel Shop out of Melbourne for a combined super single car team.
Let's do the maths here. They've got an REC that they're probably going to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
PRA have stated publicly, Rod Nash has specifically, that they're looking for a fourth rec to purchase for Stanaway.
Yep.
And they're supplying a car, at least one, to LDM for next year.
Well, it looks like...
Do you want to put the maths there, or what's going on?
Yeah, no, 1 + 1 = 2. No, actually, 4 + 1 = 5. And the rules say you can't have 5, which means you've got to get rid of 1. So if you've just bought something, why would you go and lease another one of exactly the same thing?
Well, that's the question that I think Jason Bright's been asking them, because Brighty is under the impression that Brightech, his rec, which is Brightech Motorsport, is contracted to be the fourth for at least next year, and he was also under the impression that he was driving it.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about contracts. They're not worth the paper they're written on.
Indeed, and I think I've got a nasty feeling that one's either going to end in court or it's going to end with some money changing hands.
Whilst there was discussion that it was a 2-year deal, sometimes things that are said publicly differ a little bit to things that to the truth or to the facts. So nobody really knows. Sadly, Warbster, you would probably have a better chance of seeing that contract than I would, but you're over in New Zealand, so hiding, spending time with your new best friend Tony.
Yes, and the mainland Colby's delicious.
Please.
We're not contractually obligated to say that, though. Meanwhile, over in Dandenong, it's been announced that, well, it's not been announced, but with pretty hot mail is that James Golding, Steve is 90% of the way in the door for the number 34 driver this year, replacing James Moffat.
Yeah, we I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but I know we've talked about it. I got a mate of mine works at GRM, and I was talking to him probably 14, 15 months ago, and he said that, Bieber had done his 2 years in the DVS, and he probably needed a little bit more. But what's interesting is Bieber's test-driven everything that GRM own this year. He's been at every single race meeting working with the drivers and the engineers. Garth's certainly been mentoring him, which is a nice one for Garth, because I think that's where Garth's going to end up when he finally steps away. And
he's not a bad shout for doing that role either, considering the success he's had over the years.
Oh, look, absolutely. And he and Leanne own a company called Tanda Sport that I think will grow and will blossom. But maybe a little bit more on that later. Your old mate, the dude. Not to be seen. He was down at MotoGP on the weekend.
Yes, well, traitor. No, he's a good mate of Mick Dillon, and he actually does have half a share in a helicopter with Mick Dillon. So I don't suspect they probably went down there and had a mates weekend on Mick's Gold Legends card, which basically gives him access to the MotoGP paddock and all the paella he can eat.
Yes, and all the cerveza you can drink.
Meanwhile, back in Supercars land,
yep.
Jack LeBrock's been linked to every open seat that's even remotely available, but no one's sort of had any solid information yet. You got anything there, DSO?
Interesting one. Davo's come out and said he's not against having a look at an international drive overseas next year. Now, why would a driver come out? He's still... apparently, on the surface, still a wanted driver, but all of a sudden Will Davo comes out and says, I'm not quite sure what's going on next year. I'm not adverse to exploring my options overseas. That sounds to me like PR code for you're gone at the end of the year, best you get on the front foot before anyone else says anything and run a bit of PR spin.
And you've got to look at it as if they do dump Davo, and I wouldn't say that he's done absolutely nothing to deserve that. He hasn't really shone very much this year. Techno have got options. You've got Jackal Brock. You've got Mark's cousin Gary if he decides to fly the PRA coupe.
Yeah, nephew.
You've got Andre 3000.
Yep.
You've got Chris Pisser if he doesn't end up doing anything at Erebus. Anton De Pasquale if he doesn't do anything at Erebus.
Todd
You've just got
Hazelwood.
a mountain of talent out there.
Todd
And
Hazelwood.
If you're not performing,
Yep.
you're out.
Yep. I know you've been enjoying the Pinot Noir of the finest New Zealand Pinot Noir you can steal from Tony for the last week and a half. You did take.
Although people do keep trying to talk to me about rugby, which is really annoying.
Yeah, it's a way of life over there, I believe. I note that you haven't left behind the Supercars Insiders Facebook page, and
Absolutely not.
you've been contributing beautifully there. Something that caught my eye, and I had a bit of a wry smile, and I did like the Op Minion poll.
Yes, the Up Minion poll, we, as a sort of carry on from the last issue of future drivers, young talent, all that sort of thing, I did actually ask the Minion, who has done the least for the past few years to keep their seat for next year? Which driver do we think deserves to be out?
And I bet that went well.
It went very well. Thank you to everyone that contributed. It was greatly appreciated. There were a lot of good little combos going on there, and I was very happy to have people around. I'll just go through a few of the select comments here. James Curtin, you would think Davo would be doing in a pretty well-spec'd techno car. Well, we just talked about it, Will Davo, and, well, we couldn't disagree with that, could we?
Yeah, absolutely.
John O'Barry, James Courtney, brought number one to the team with him. His current number seems to reflect his current situation.
Interesting.
I'd
hardly think Courtney's at his use by date.
Oh, he's getting there. Cameron Larry Tenardi. Hello, Cameron. Blanchard.
Gee, that's a bit harsh. He's not that old, and I don't think he's had that bad a year.
Yeah, and Hazelwood's destroyed him. What's your point?
Yeah, righto. Okay, destroyed his car. What about the old blokes? What about the old blokes? Anyone tee off at the old blokes?
Well, Nick Perkins did. Bright. I know he owns the wreck, but seriously, why are people paying to be on the side of his car? They're not a PRA deal. It'd be interesting if no one is willing to help him run his car next year.
Righto. Let's go to the. I know you and I love stats. We love stats. Wikipedia is our best friend. Brighty. Go the tail of the tape. He turns 45 a week after the Adelaide race next year.
Yeah.
He was a Formula Ford champion in 1995. The bloke's got a really, really strong early history in motorsport, and came from the Latrobe Valley. His dad took a redundancy package from the SEC, the old State Electricity Commission, and used his redundancy money to fund his son's racing career. Not sure everybody's aware of that one, and remortgaged the house too, I'm led to believe. So Brighty, 95 Formula Ford champ. The year he was Formula Ford champion, he beat Jason Bargwana, Todd Kelly, and some bloke called Mark Webber.
That guy, never heard of him.
Okay.
What did he end up doing?
No, not a great deal. Fast forward a couple of years. Actually, let's parlay that one back across. Mark Webber's co-driver in the LMP1 Porsche World Endurance Championship cars.
Brendan Hartley. Earl Bamber. Sorry, I'm getting my insanely quick Kiwis mixed up again.
Another insanely quick Kiwi, Earl Bamber, has come out this week while we're in the news section talking about that he's interested in a supercar co-drive next year.
Well, he's got the resume.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's
fun spot for him. I mean, I think he's actually won one more, but he's Porsche LMP driver isn't exactly anything to sneeze at. And most importantly, he is from New Zealand, so you know he's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Brighty, he won the Australian Drivers' Championship. He won a Gold Star. He beat Bargs again. He beat some bloke called Scott Dixon. What's he ever done?
Yeah, what has Scott Dixon ever done? Any of our American listeners want to fill us in on that one? Because he's won basically everything in American open wheel racing.
Yeah, pretty much. Scott Dixon, back to Brighty, back to So back to Jason Bright. Hasn't won a supercars or touring car or saloon car or improved production or whatever it's been called over the last 50 years championship. He's been third twice in the championship. He's chalked up one Bathurst win, single Bathurst win with a couple of other podiums. Todd Kelly, I'm sure he got a run in the opinion poll.
Yeah, the Kelly brothers, both of them got killed, but Todd came into special attention. Yeah.
So Todd's 38, third in Formula Ford Championship. That was his best result. Third in supercars. He's had a single solitary Bathurst win and 3 Bathurst podiums, probably the same as Brighty. On the scheme of things, he hasn't had a lot of big success.
No, he hasn't had any. I mean, he hasn't finished in the top 10 in the championship since 2007.
Mm-hmm. Despite all that Nissan money.
Despite all of that Nissan money, and you'd have to say his life has been overshadowed by his younger brother. I mean, Rick, again, he got fairly well caned on this little opinion poll as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a pole in Darwin this year.
Yep.
He's got a championship which he accumulated in 2006. He's won Bathurst a couple of times with Murph.
Yep.
He's had a pretty decent career considering what his brother's done.
Yep, definitely the stronger of the two. So the other old man in the field barely rated a mention in the opinion poll about whether it's time to hang up your helmet.
No, Garth amazingly survived. I'm pretty sure intact. I don't think anyone actually nominated him at all.
So,
although I was a little bit, I'm not going to say upset. I was a little bit surprised at how much the two drivers got. Moss got fairly well caned as well, but considering what he's done at Bathurst and then nursing the wall at Surfers, you'd have to say he's probably deserving of it. But the one that kind of surprised me a bit was Alex Rullo.
Certainly at the opposite end of the spectrum to Garth and to Brighty, he's probably the youngest in the field.
By quite some margin as well. And I think the consensus seems to be that Alex Rullo would probably be served by another couple of years in Super 2 before he steps back up again.
We know that you need a couple of year apprenticeship, and we don't think he did it. So back to Garth though. Currently 40 years old. 20 years ago he won Formula Ford Championship. He was Supercar champion 10 years ago. His Bathurst record's fairly strong. 5 podiums for 2 or 3 wins. He's been there, and I hate this term there or thereabouts, so I'm not going to use it anymore. But he's been Mr. Consistent. His last couple of years at the artist formerly known as HRT was probably more HRT in the car than Garth. He's absolutely excelled this year at Gary Rogers, both in mentoring Bieber and also in driving a car that was new to the team. He's just done really well, kept it relatively clean, hasn't bent it, has been generally far enough at the pointy end to stay away from that mid-pack trouble realistically. I think I'd need to go back to my championship standings, Warbster. Just give me a moment. They're off the screen. I think from memory, Garth's sitting somewhere about 8th or 9th in the championship. So
and you'd have to say with Garth, I think you nailed it on the head last time, man, when you said that the change in workplace has definitely done him the world of good.
Yep.
I just think he's home again.
Yep, I do too. And
also, while we're talking about people making comments on the page, Bruce Henley nominated James Warburton. James Warburton's already gone, Bruce.
Don't you talk about my mate Bruce like that. All right. So Warbster, that pretty much rounds out the news. We've probably left a fair bit behind, but nothing that hasn't been recycled by those guys and girls over at Cafe. I believe
but things change so quick that by the time we actually get this out after recording, probably everything will have changed anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too.
So we need to go safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags.
Race competitors, are you disillusioned with your current national series? Are you sick of paying outlandish entry fees and exorbitant category management rates? Want to race at 5 different tracks in 4 states? If you want 100 minutes of track time each round and can bring 20 cars, maybe there's an option. Nope, it's not the Shannons.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
This week at Shannons, we pay tribute to one of Australasia's greatest motorsport competitors, Jim Richards.
Just really stunned for words. I can't believe the reception.
Yeah, Jim, the Warbster and I would like to apologise for not having you on this podcast sooner.
I thought Australian race fans had a lot more to go than this. This is going to remain with me for a long time.
Shannon shares your passion. Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Welcome back to the Supercar Insiders Warbster /DSO podcast. And a very big thanks to our great friends at Shannon's for all their support of the podcast. And if you're listening out there, Jim, the Warbster and I would like to really sincerely apologise that it took 3 episodes before you got your own Shannon's ad. So, Warbster, you're in New Zealand. We haven't really talked about this much. Obviously, you're over there at the Hampton Downs GT race this weekend, indulging as you are very good at. Where actually are you? Are you at Hampton Downs as we're speaking, or are you in a phone box in a street somewhere?
I'm in a phone box in a little town about 15k from Hampton Downs called Pukekohe, outside the best restaurant in town, Fat Fush and Chockin'. On the Dominion Road.
So hang on. There's a couple of things I need to clarify there. Did you just say some swear words, or did you just say fat, fish, and chicken?
No, sorry, fat fish and chicken. I mean, I've been here too long.
Oh, yeah, weak, and you got the accent down pat already. Better than the bloke doing the bloody ads. Dominion Road, is that like the Tony Minion Road? Is Tony that big in Hampton Downs? He gets to name roads after minions?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it must have been a peace offering. Either that or Tony's got his own minions. I don't know.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Tony would have his own minions. I reckon he's worth a little bit more than you, just quietly. Now, I believe it's time for you to put your hand on your heart this episode, Warbster.
Yes, I do need to make some apologies for fake news. Unlike certain other sources that shall remain nameless, James Phelps, we do actually apologise and correct when we make mistakes.
Come on.
The Warbstercast.
Come on, here we go. I'm going to love this.
First of all, we said that Rick Kelly was the run-running number 20 at Bathurst. It was, in fact, Todd. Rick was in the number 15. Todd was in the number 20 instead of number 7. I think I intimated the other way around, which I probably shouldn't have done. That was my fault. And the Super Touring Volvo discussion with the estate, I think I said that Peter Brock drove that car. He actually didn't. Jim Richards, we're pretty sure did, but the regular driver for the Volvo estate in the 1995 Australian Super Touring Championship was in fact Tony Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim drove it because I watched him turn one at Calder Park that year. I know Jim definitely drove it. He may not have raced it, but he certainly practiced it. So, and I think he did race it that year, but I've definitely seen him driving it. And another big hi to...
And Jim Richards driving a racing car that he's unfamiliar with is completely unlike him, and it's never happened before, and it will never happen since.
Yeah, and another big shout out to Gentleman John Richards.
I'm going to go a little bit off script here and say, as not speaking as the Warbster, but speaking as myself, Jim Richards is the greatest ever, and I will not hear any argument on that.
Yep. Yeah, in terms of versatile and longevity, there's no one in Australia comes anywhere near him.
Anyway, we've got to get on with business here. Pukekohe. We've gone from the beaches of Goldie, the sun and the surf and the chicks, to the middle of a sheep paddock.
It's not really a sheep paddock. It's a sheep paddock.
No, it's a horse paddock, really.
Well, it is. And again, it's a lot like Sandown. And do you know why it's a lot like Sandown?
Because Warwick Farm was successful.
Oh, please. Work with me. The crashes are massive.
They are indeed.
That's why it's like Sandown. I think they fixed their fence a bit faster than Sandown, though.
Well, I'd like to hope so, but hopefully no one will actually hit the fences this time. And hopefully Shane Van Gisbergen and Jamie Whincup won't run into each other and do the simultaneous spin, which got a 9.9 on the Grace and ability card, but I don't think Uncle Roland was terribly happy about that.
No, if we'd been running the GPS traces that round, we know that Uncle Roland and Duddo would have been very disappointed. I'm over at I'm on our contractually obligated UBet website at the moment, and
beautiful. So the odds for the Super ITM, Super Organ, Super Sprunt.
Super Sprunt, yeah. some young kid called Scott McLaughlin, who's apparently from New Zealand, he'd be at $3.75 for the win in race 1.
I'd actually like to publicly thank Scotty McLaughlin and the DJR Team Penske team for winning the second race on the Sunday at Surfers, because I reckon a New Zealander winning probably put about another 5,000 or 6,000 on the gate for Pukekohe. That place is going to be heaving.
I reckon
and
you're right.
There isn't going to be a Red Bull fan in the house.
Oh no, there'll be long necks of lion red all the way back to Auckland.
I reckon there might be, or maybe some Tui.
There may be some Tui. Next line of betting, Jamie and the Gears at $4.25. Third line of betting, Chaz and Fabian at $7.50. I reckon Fabian Coulthard in a DJR car around Pukekohe at $7.50 is probably the bet of that's the steal of the weekend. We push out to my man Crazy Dave at 13, and then we're out to the $19 line where we see Winterbottom Cameron Waters. That's an interesting one, and Craig Lowndes.
Waters is a bit better than that.
Yeah, well, and then after that we're at 51 and above, and that's Garth, Timmy Slade, Nick Percat. I'll leave the rest. Your mates the Kellys come in after that. 60. The Nissans at 61, 201, and 1001 are the 4 Nissans. The old man of the field, Jason Bright, $200 the win. In fact, it's like you bet have picked up a betting line, Warbster, based around the Minion poll. James Moffat, Todd Kelly, Jason Bright, all 201 to 1.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's pretty much how it is.
So, your thoughts? It's a racetrack. It's a racetrack that's fast. It's a racetrack that bites. Can't see any real surprises. Throw something at me, Warbster.
Well, it's going to be Triple Eight versus DJR again, logically, with probably Chaz sticking his nose in and maybe one of the other PRA cars if they really get it conking, sticking the nose in as well. I mean, that's the pattern of the season. Chaz is doing a lot more with that PRA equipment than anybody else, and you'd have to say how much of PRA's performance is Chaz and how much of it is the actual car. But, I mean, David Reynolds probably be there or thereabouts, GRM probably in the same category. The season's fairly well established at this point. We're nearly at the end, so I doubt there's going to be any huge surprises. I think as far as the championship implications are concerned, it's just going to be a matter of who makes the mistake, who blinks first.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you're right. Giz is going to be tail gunner to Jamie. He'll be doing everything he possibly can, and so will Craig. I think Craig will be fast, but he'll be there. He'll be there in a points protection. There'll be a protection racket happening this weekend. It's going to be a championship.
If we want Triple Eight to win, I can just write them off again if you want.
No. Well, given you're on limited tenure, I don't think you've got as much pull as you did have once. But I think, as I was saying, there's definitely going to be a protection racket operating next weekend, and that'll be Van Gisbergen and Craig Lowndes protecting Jamie's championship points. Scotty and Fabian are going to be out there head to head. I just hope Team Orders don't come in. I hope they're allowed to race for the championship. I really do.
I don't think they're going to have a choice there. And Penske traditionally doesn't do that.
No. So look, that's pretty much Pukekohe in a nutshell. I can't believe you've gone over there 2.5 weeks before the actual race. But I suppose when you're the Warbster, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Indeed. One final thing to mention before we get out of here: the actual race record holder at Pukekohe Super
Sprint. My apologies, Warbster. We should have opened with that. We know historically who the most successful racing driver in Australia is. Let me have a quick...
Well, it's 11 or 14.
It's definitely 11 or 14, and that's race wins, not round wins. The Prince of Pukekohe himself.
No, it's got to be Murph, surely.
Sure is. It's the man who did the lap of the gods. It's the man who slammed the toilet door the hardest at Bathurst, and it's the man who's won the New Zealand round 11 or 14 times. Greg Murphy.
Indeed, and he is a proud New Zealander. Just watch the coverage if you don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm Greg Murphy, and I'm from New Zealand.
Jolly bum.
Chully buns
Jandals.
and jandals.
Chully buns.
Chully buns and jandals, bro. Enough of this frivolity and japes and quips. If, I'm going to have to do this myself because the sound engineer's not here. I think I'm going to start playing your really crappy outro music back about 4 sentences ago. Warbster, enjoy your time in New Zealand, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been choice doing a podcast with you again, DSO.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone for listening. Get onto the Facebook page if you can, and like, subscribe, promote, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell anyone who will listen.
Get this
Bring us forward. We love you. Thank you very much.
Get this podcast on Drive Tribe. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This is a Pukekohe Insiders production, bro. For more information, go to www.facebook.com/Pukekohe Insiders. I'm Beach D's, bro.